What do you guys think happens when we die? You stop fearing death, that's for sure. Death does not concern us, because as long as we exist, death is not here. And when it does come, we no longer exist. I like to think of it like a deep sleep but with no dreams. When you are asleep but are not dreaming, you are completely unaware of yourself, where you are, or even that you exist. I think death is probably the same. I have the same theory but can't decide if this sounds scary to me, sounds peaceful, or that I'm utterly neutral on the subject. Neutrality sounds like the most appropriate response, as nothingness isn't inherently good or bad. My opinion changes regularly, so maybe it's somehow a mixture of all three. To expand on what you said, I think what comes after is like what came before. For all I know, my memories can go as far before reaching pure darkness, with nothing beyond. If the afterlife is like the before life, in lack of better terms, then it will be a state of non-existence, where it doesn't matter much what you were, currently are, and what you could possibly be once more. So I finally get to have a good night's sleep. Doesn't sound half bad. When my grandfather's health had declined to the point it was clear he would not recover, he was offered counseling to help him prepare for the end. Not a particularly religious man, but raised Christian, he chose to have a few sessions with a priest to talk about life, the end of it and possibly an afterlife. The priest asked him, "You are going to die soon, how does that make you feel?" To which my grandpa answered, "I don't know, I've never done it before. I wish that when my time comes I'll feel the same acceptance and will be as down to earth as that man, my example, and my hero. We don't know and all we can do is wait and see. I am okay with that." His response made me smirk. When my father-in-law was diagnosed as terminal, he started counseling. I could totally see him saying something like that in response to the question. I hope I'll say something like that when my time comes, but knowing myself, I'll probably have panic attack after panic attack. Not all of us are as graceful, lol. Hopefully the ketamine rush. Sprinkle in some DMT and sounds fun. Experienced great death I have, to the world of ketamine I must go. I legitimately have no clue at all and don't want to waste time guessing. What I hope happens is I can somehow interact still with all the people I've loved in my life. I know that's really optimistic, but if I could decide what happens, I'd love for that to be true. The only thing that I'm pretty sure of is that a human body and mind are limited in perceptive capacity. I think whatever does happen, it's not going to be what I expect. Edit. Thanks for the badges and upvotes, people. I hope you all have a good day. That's a pretty good answer. Sorts by controversial. It's just a bunch of new agey nut jobs, and not the interesting kind. Disappointed. Anyone that types out an exclamation after their post like disappointed, or shameful, or happy, or whatever, I can only imagine they actually did this as a kid too and would just shout hungry whenever they wanted food and such. Next. It must be a fun place inside your head. Fun place. It's spherical. Spherical. Emphasis. I will tell you when I discover it. You're the forehead to rule 'em all. Lamau. Don't you know where you were before you were born? You're going back to that stuff. I can't even remember where I was a year ago. Probably trying to buy toilet paper like the rest of us. My father's balls? No, what made you think you would go back to pee? Till pee is stored in the balls. If you poke a hole in your sack, it can save you hours over your lifetime. Mine's like a shower head. Jesus, dude. That hurt to read. I loved being in your father's balls. They're the only place I felt safe. Edit. To whomever gave this comment a helpful award, I'm glad I was able to guide you the safe place that is user Mikalov's Gotham dad's balls. Edit 2. My most awarded comment is about nuzzling in some random Redditor's dad's balls. User Mikalov's Gotham, you should be proud of your dad and his soft, fuzzy, and warm protective scrotum cocoon. Reddit link. What a terrible day to have eyes. I believe you're 100% right though. We aren't conscious of unconsciousness. If you believe in souls, then maybe our energy goes somewhere instead of coming into existence as a different person, unless you believe in reincarnation. Picture a wave. In the ocean. You can see it, measure it, its height, the way the sunlight refracts when it passes through. And it's there. And you can see it, you know what it is. It's a wave. And then it crashes in the shore and it's gone. But the water is still there. The wave was just a different way for the water to be, for a little while. You know, it's one conception of death for Buddhists. The wave returns to the ocean, where it came from and where it's supposed to be. Cheaty. I don't know why I'm surprised seeing a good place quote in this thread. Man, I remember watching the final season in one night with my girlfriend and she was just sobbing at this point. I just saw this episode. Probably like sleep except you, don't dream or wake back up. I nearly died from an asthma attack when I was 14. That's pretty much what it was like at the end of it. I was lying on the ground looking up at the sky and everything just kind of faded away. I eventually woke up, of course, and the overall thing was 0-10 do not recommend, but the actual going unconscious part really was just like going to sleep. I remember a similar sensation when being placed under general anesthetic. I think I was only 10 or 11 at the time, but I just faded and my last thought was, wow, this must be what dying feels like. All my psychedelic experience since then I feel maybe sold me a lie. There'll be no fancy visuals. No heading into the cosmos. Just a medium-paced fade to black. As a mother who watched their first child go under general anesthesia, I can confirm I left the room crying because it looked too much like she was dying when she went under. I've seen that with my kids. So scary. And when they woke back up, they were in a state of total horror. They don't remember either bit, of course. Sleep is practice for death. Sleep, those little slices of death, how I loathe them. Edgar Allan Poe. I don't sleep, because sleep is the cousin of death, Nas. And if sleep be the cousin of death, then every time I blinks closer to my last breath. YouTube link. I always remember this quote from the old Journey to the Center of the Earth movie. Glad to know whom it came from. For me it's Nightmare on Elm Street. Sleep is just death being shy. I knew an excerpt 1A reference would be in here somewhere. I came looking for it. Inhale deep like the words of my breath. I never sleep, because sleep is the cousin of death. That sounds nice. My dad always used to say plenty of time to sleep when you're dead, as he'd wake up at 4 a.m. to go hunting or fishing every GD weekend when all I wanted was to sleep. Lol. The student loan people go after our families. Do they really? If they co-signed. My mom died with student loans and they tried to come after us, but we told them to F off. By come after us, they called a few times. Edit, since my comment was unclear. If someone co-signed, it gets passed to that person. My mom did not have a co-signer. She took out student loans and died. The student loan people tried to collect on her family even though we had nothing to do with her loans. So they couldn't do crap because they are not my loans and I didn't co-sign. The Grim Repo Man. Grim Repo Man's always intense. Wow, that's scummy as hell. Not as scummy as healthcare debt collectors. Sorry, the hospital couldn't save your loved one, but here's a bill. Yep, considered they didn't even do the right surgery on my mom, which later ended up killing her. But here is a $50,000 bill. E&L, but that seems like a situation where one could countersue for malpractice. This is why it is never smart to co-sign things unless you are 100% ready to carry that debt yourself. I got effed by this in a different way. Co-signed a mortgage with my dad to help him get better rates. He lived just fine in the house for about 5 years before he had some health problems and couldn't work for a while. Since money was tight, he just stopped paying the mortgage. Never bothered to tell me he didn't have the cash to cover it. I could have covered it no problem. But instead, because he was embarrassed to bring it up, I got 6+ months of black marks on my credit history. Really made it hard for me to buy a house of my own a couple years later. This all happened over 5 years ago and my credit is still crap. Luckily, the insanely low interest rates right now meant I was able to refinance to a good rate. But I'm still in the fair credit category. No idea how much that cost me due to higher interest rates, but it sure as hell would have been cheaper for me to pay his mortgage if I'd known. I don't like saying mean things about people's parents, but I do think people who put their pride over the welfare of others are in the extreme wrong. If they do sign on the loans, they do. Legit question, if you knew you were going to die, could you not just get a bunch of credit cards and max them out? Like take the family on trips, clothes, pay bills and whatever else. As long as you are not married and your kids are smart enough not to pay your debt. Yeah, that makes sense. Doesn't apply to me, just curious. It would come out of your estate. If you have no money or possessions, go for it. If you have no money, steady income, or possessions, won't it be hard to get a credit card with any limit with abusing? You maintain good credit until you know you're going to die. Sell all of your crap, then give the money to your kids. Max out all of your credit cards on hookers and trips. Die happy knowing you effed over some banks. I've wondered about this as well. My mom used to transfer all the money that she could out of her lines of credit before traveling in case she died because she had insurance that would pay off her loans, but it didn't matter how much was on the loan. So she would max it out then pay it off after the trip. Here in Italy, if you accept the inheritance you also inherit all debts. It's the same here mostly. Your estate, the crap you leave behind, is responsible for your debts. So if you owe thousands of dollars on a loan, your kids can't get the house directly. There are ways to work around it. But the debt doesn't transfer to the inheritor if the estate value was too low to pay back the loans. Joke's on them, I didn't let anyone co-sign my loans. Exact same thing as before we were born. This thought puts me into an existential crisis, but so does the thought that my consciousness will continue on into eternity. Even if I were to exist in some kind of paradise, the thought of existing forever is daunting. Your memories, your feelings, and your personality are all part of your brain chemistry and thus tied to your physical body. If there is something left after, would you recognize it as you? Why am I reading this thread? Stares into nothing till the sun sets, the room finally darkens, and with it, me. I'm going to go drink alcohol now. Way ahead of you. Don't worry so much. Not like your conscience remembers the last ride. Have fun. I believe we exist forever, but due to the nature of existence we are unable to perceive its length. Because it's impossible for us to be cognizant of non-existence, without a brain to experience it, we are and can only be aware of existence. So we will be other people, other beings, but since we can't retain information on our past lives we aren't aware of them. If we came from the void once, chances are we can come back from it again. That or the universe is perpetually contracting and expanding. An infinite loop of big bangs, living lives again and again. Some instances we exist, others not. Different outcomes and choices every time. Edit. Thank you very much for the awards and gold. That's the part that used to make me sad, the idea that I will never be able to perceive the next dimension with the brain of this existence. It made my depression unbearable for a time. I struggle with that thought too. I like who I am in my life. I was lucky enough to be born in a first world nation and have lived comfortably. I don't want that to change. Here's hoping life is like a choose-your-own-adventure book on a larger scale. When it's done, just go back to the beginning and make different choices to different ends. Also, thank you for the award. Yep, you were already dead for billions of years. That's probably what happens when you die. If it were up to me, we'd reincarnate. Say the atoms that make up who you are eventually realign into some form of consciousness somewhere in the infinite universe. Being dead forever felt like nothing at all, so the time that passes between when you die and reincarnate as some other consciousness would feel like nothing, too. I'd like it if time were not linear, so you could reincarnate as a different gender 1,000 years ago, or maybe another species 100,000 years ago. Or 1,000 years in the future. Just living different experiences over and over forever, without ever knowing you once existed as something else. But yeah, I think really this is it. This is your one chance at being able to experience anything, and you'll probably throw it away on a 9-to-5 job you don't like, and you'll spend your free time getting drunk and watching mediocre TV, scrolling your phone endlessly, looking for the smallest dopamine hit just to feel anything at all. Jesus Christ, did that last paragraph hit home really hard. Really makes you wonder what you're doing with your life. As I scrolled endlessly on Reddit during my 9-to-5, looking forward to playing a video game with my son in a half hour and hitting up the custom bar in my basement after dinner to stave off the depression of not having done anything meaningful in the last year other than trying to dodge a virus. Looking forward to playing a video game with my son in a half hour and hitting up the custom bar in my basement. Look, I'm all for the quest for additional meaning and doing more that endures. But really, what's more important than family and being able to look forward to mutually enjoying some stuff together? If that's the way you're feeling, you should be proud rather than so down on yourself, man. Thanks. It was mostly in jest. I look forward to 3:30 when my son gets home every day. Definitely the highlight. We're both Zelda dorks and love getting lost in an adventure game and doing puzzles together. Work life is really chaotic right now though, and it has the whole team on edge. If we're lucky, someone deletes our browser history. Blast my cache. Have you seen that time I got reincarnated as a slime? Literally how it opens. Doesn't just delete his history, fries his entire damn PC. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.